What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz podcast. Here on this Monday, coming off of a big 43-41 win over Texas A&M. And we got Iron Bowl week ahead of us, and we got the Maui Invitational starting tonight, Auburn and Iowa State at 8 o'clock. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a good one. Randy, good Monday to you. It's Thanksgiving week, and we'll hit up a little bit of what's our favorite things about Thanksgiving all along the way, and we'll take everybody's comments because one thing that we like to talk about is food this time of year, and everybody's got their favorite dish that they like at Thanksgiving, and they also have the thing that they can't stand the most, and they won't touch it even if it was the last food on earth. So we'll talk about all that, but good to see you this morning.
Well, I started off my Thanksgiving week at the gym this morning at 5 o'clock, knowing what's coming down the road, that if I don't get a grip on it, that there are 10 to 12 pounds in my future that I don't want, Brett. So 5 o'clock this morning, my wife and I hit up Roar. If you haven't been by Roar in Auburn, it's a great little CrossFit style workout, and a lot of people in there again this morning, I think, thinking the same as we are, Brett. But glad to be here with you. We had a great podcast yesterday.
Is that like taking pregame? Does that before you start drinking and you take a bunch of headache medicine? Is that preparation?
Yeah,
I
mean, yes. But I've heard people say, "Well, why don't you just wait till after the holidays to get started?" I'm like, do you have any idea how much of an uphill battle you're fighting if you don't just at least keep it
get ahead of
close?
Get ahead of it.
Yeah, stay ahead of it. And so did that this morning, feeling a little bit better, ready to talk to you. I know what we're talking about because we did it yesterday, and we had a great podcast. A lot of you are finding us out there on a daily basis, and boy, Brett, it sure is nice to come on and talk positive about this Auburn football program. Following a win, there's still things we'd all like to be a little bit better on, but following a win makes it much easier to come on and at least have some hope. We got some hope going into an Iron Bowl.
We do.
We have lucked up and been in. I call it lucked up. We hadn't had very good football teams, but we've been in some games at Jordan-Hare Stadium that you and I, nobody felt like we'd be in. But I go into this Saturday, and look, we may get run out of gym over there in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be rabid. But I think we've closed the gap, and it's fun to think that you got a chance to go over there and win because we haven't won over there in 14 years. Need to get off the snide there.
Yeah. How nice would that be, first of all? And carrying some momentum into this game is massive. And, we said it, starting with ULM, it looked like an uphill battle. And we thought, well, what is this team going to do coming down the stretch? Really not much to play for. And, so they come out against ULM and they did what they were supposed to do, but they did that against Alabama A&M and New Mexico. It's been the conference games and the non-conference game against Cal that were the head scratchers. So in comes Texas A&M with a number 15 ranking and a boatload of stuff on the line, 8-2 mark. But none of us, including anybody nationally, felt like this was some world beater Texas A&M team, that they had flaws. And I think that happened 2 weeks prior at South Carolina. And they were tied at 20, and then all of a sudden you looked up, it was 44-20 South Carolina. And, that exposed them a little bit. And they had some regrouping to do, and they won a non-conference game last week, but came in and saying, look, Auburn's got their first night game at home in the SEC. We knew what was coming. We knew the crowd would be there. We knew that the environment would be unbelievable. And we would just need the team to show up and actually play the way we want them to play in an environment like that, and they did. They got out to a 21-0 lead. You couldn't ask for a better start against a team like Texas A&M, but then you got to credit Texas A&M with a freshman quarterback in Marcel Reed, who, by the way, I think is one of the best quarterbacks in this conference now. He's going to be unbelievable moving forward for Texas A&M, and he's going to be a tough out for anybody moving forward. But brought them back and actually had a lead late in the fourth quarter. And then Auburn put a drive together that they haven't been able to do all year against Missouri, against Oklahoma, against Cal, against Arkansas. All of those were tests, and we failed them. And then this week, we went on a drive. Peyton Thorne scrambled and got that drive moving. You got to get that first down, and you kind of get things clicking a little bit. That first down is always the toughest. And when you do that, you can kind of get the defense going a little bit, reeling a little bit. We were able to drive down, and look, that drive was not without its flaws. They got down inside the 10, and it was 1st and goal, Randy, at the 7, and we looked like a junior high team. Now, everybody was all out of whack and didn't know what play to call. I don't think we had the right personnel in there, and we ended up screwing that away and ended up having to kick a field goal, thank God, and get it to overtime. And then the rest was history. We can dive into that. But, look, momentum. And then you look at Alabama losing to Oklahoma. I mean, yeah, this sets up to be, a flip of the coin to me. Iron Bowl.
Well, here's a couple of positives. The way they lost was eye-opening. Their lack of any identity on the offensive side of the football is really head-scratching. I was talking to our good friend Justin Mosley at a family event yesterday, Brett, and I said, am I to believe that Alabama didn't go out and get 2 or 3 of the best high school running backs in the country? Because when I watch Alabama play, I question whether they've got running backs that they want to lean on. It makes no sense, Brett. I mean, they've got 4 and 5 stars galore on that offensive line. They've got great running backs, but when you play them right now, there's no one thing that they can lean on outside of Ryan Williams making some type of amazing play. That was a terrible call that went against him. A beautiful catch, but it was all lean on Jalen Milroe running the football on quarterback counters and very head scratching. But back to us. On the opposite side for Auburn, we found some offense. We didn't play great defensively. Texas A&M moved the ball at will. We did force a key turnover deep in our territory that really helped in the football game and found a way to get them off the field. I know the 2-point conversion. They had a nice design on that one, just dropped the pass in the end zone. But we had a pretty good offensive game. And, the one thing that I noticed with Auburn that I think we can build on, Brett, and I'd like your thoughts on it, we had 168 yards rushing. About 140 of those came by Jarquez. We had a multi-dimensional quarterback in the mix, like a Nick Marshall type player. And you get a 50 to 70, 75, 80 yards rushing with them, you really could change up from 170 yards rushing a game, which is about where we are currently, up to 225, 240 yard. And I feel like we're playing physical football. And I don't know about you. I could get into an offense like that right now. I think Auburn's building around that from the lines of scrimmage standpoint. I think we're matching teams a lot better than we have over the last decade or so.
I know this goes back to old school SEC football, but really the blueprint to win in the SEC forever, and especially on the road, was to run the football and play good defense. I mean, if you could run the football, and most of the time in this Iron Bowl, historically, the team that has the better night running the football usually wins the game. Not every time, but most of the time. And Alabama, the games that they've struggled, these teams have ran the football on them. They've been able to run the ball and really kind of control things, and that's what Oklahoma did this past Saturday. And it's a little unorthodox. It wasn't a true turnaround and let's hand off. I mean, it was RPO option style type runs, but nevertheless, I mean, if you're running the ball, whether it be with your quarterback or your tailback or a combination or whatever, you're still accomplishing the goal that you want. And again, that's Auburn's strength, and we haven't lived with it most of the year. And look, I'll be honest with you, in the third quarter when we went in a shell and watched Texas A&M come back and tie the game up, late in the third, going into the fourth quarter, Jarquez Hunter was sitting at like 90 yards, and we had like 12 or 13 carries. I'm like, here we go again, man. I'm like, we just somehow figure out a way for him to just hit a stalemate before he hits the century mark. But then we were able to put together a couple of drives in the fourth quarter that and started handing in the football again, and Peyton Thorne a little bit with his legs too, that ran that final rushing total on up over 160 yards. So I think Auburn's got to figure out a way to continue to do that Saturday. You're going to have shots. You're going to have opportunities. Look, Cam Coleman has finally emerged from the cocoon the last 2 weeks. You know, we knew this caterpillar was in there, and we knew what the potential and how pretty of a butterfly this was going to be once he ever got out. But we were like, where is he? And now all of a sudden, he's a massive part of Auburn's offensive game plan. And so now he's become a real threat. You know, Malcolm Simmons is still a massive threat. You know, and in a game like this Iron Bowl, Malcolm Simmons could really – you can look up and go, man, that guy made a difference. And so all these weapons that are coming out really at the right time, I guess, you know, if you want to
let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
I want to segue into Malcolm. Saturday was odd. You know, I felt like he got about every snap in the first half. I looked over at my son. I said, I don't know what he said in halftime, and I know he didn't say anything because I know Malcolm. I know he's not that tight. But you come out in the second half, and Robert Lewis got all the snaps. Such an odd dynamic of how we transition players in and out. And he got very few snaps on the offensive side of the ball in the second half. Had some opportunities, caught a ball on that final drive. Little pass out on the sideline that he got 8 or 9 yards.
Right.
May have been his only reception in the game. I'd have to look at the stats.
I think he had 2 catches in the game. He had 2 catches.
Okay. But had a majority of the snaps in the first half, and I don't know if that was something that was already predetermined going into the ball game. Did have a couple of good punt returns. So he had some chances, had a really good tackle on an opposing punt return.
He did.
So not taking anything negative. It's just, did you notice that? I'm sure you did.
No,
I mean, we're watching wherever 11 is. That's we're Elliott City guys. We're going to watch where our high school guys that we keep up with, how they're performing. But I thought the second half was a little odd.
Yeah, I did too. You know, and here's the deal, and I don't know this. This is pure speculation on my part. If Malcolm maybe didn't run the right route a couple times, or maybe something was right, you know, then they could have made a change. I'm total speculation, or it could have been, hey, Malcolm, you're gonna get the first half, and Robert, you're gonna get the second half. That's how close you guys are, and you know we're gonna split it up. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Only they know. I could probably ask Malcolm. You could too. He'd tell us, and he'd tell us what happened, but. You know, again, he's a team player. He had to field a couple of really crucial punts late in that game.
Did a great job with it. Proud of him with that.
He did. I thought that, you know, from a standpoint of keeping his head in the game, you don't have to worry about that guy. He's all in 1,000%. Whatever they ask him to do, he's going to do it. So I don't know. I don't know why the Robert Lewis thing came into the second half, but going back to what we were talking about with the Iron Bowl, I think Auburn's got all the weapons they need if they can execute to do what they need to do to put points on the board. Again, Randy, the magic number, like you said, if we can get to 20, I feel like we'd win the game. I said we'd win 24-20. You know, we were averaging like 15, 16 points a game in SEC play, which doesn't cut it. You're not beating anybody in this conference scoring that amount. You're going to have to score probably 30 to beat Alabama on the road. So it took overtime, took 4 overtimes to get to 43. It was 31 all at the end of regulation. So, yeah, I think you got to get to 30. I'm worried about our defense matched up with another scrambling quarterback, Jalen Milroe. We don't get good pressure up front with our front guys. Jason and I talked about that yesterday. Going to have to dial up some blitzes. We've had to do that all year, but we're going to have to find a way to get pressure on Jalen Milroe.
I'm not as concerned about Milroe as I am if they decided to go into the football game and go power and see if they can run it at us.
I don't think they're going to do
that. I don't either. It's very odd. It's like getting set up for Auburn, and I'm sure they're saying the same thing that we're saying. Well, if they turn around and hand that thing to Jarquez 30 times, I like their chances. I mean, I'm saying the same with them. I mean, I watch their running backs. I don't understand why they don't lean on those guys a little bit more with that big offensive line, but they don't, Brett. And Auburn doesn't at times either. Luckily, in the second half, we did the other night. We got Jarquez close to 30 carries, and it made the difference because that guy gets stronger. I keep saying it, but as the game moves on, he gets stronger. The big plays seem to come as he's wearing opposing defenses down, not necessarily in the early part of ball games, but late in the ball games. Caught a couple of passes out of the backfield also to get the ball in his hands. Did he have 31 touches Saturday?
Let me see.
I think I'm right with that.
I want to make sure I got that right.
It's a little bit over 30 touches. I think he had maybe 28 carries and three receptions.
28 carries, 130 yards.
Yeah, and then he had 3 receptions too for another 20-some-odd yards.
He had 3 receptions.
So he had 31 touches in the ball game, and I think that 30 touches for Jarquez is key. And do they get their running backs? He had 4, so he had 32 touches. Do they get their running backs 30-plus touches? No. I think that's an X factor though going in, Brett, is which team can establish the run and stick to it and not force themselves to overthink everything. When I watch Alabama, it is.
Well, let's look at Alabama and see what they look like against Oklahoma. I mean, from a running attack situation, Jam Miller had 12 carries for 45 yards. Justice Haynes only carried it 3 times for 18. So their running backs only carried the ball 15 times combined. Jalen Milroe had 15 carries, but he only had 7 yards. They pretty much non-existent running the football against Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma has one of the best defensive fronts in the country. They do have that. And we saw at the end of the game against us when they got that lead, boy, we couldn't even hardly get a snap off. I mean, there was no chance we were going to drive down the field and even challenge to try to score. So when you look at it, if you look at the back side of the backfield, Jam Miller caught 1 pass for 6 yards. Their running backs are not even a factor in the game. Or at least they weren't against Oklahoma. Yep. 16
total touches. There's an X factor. 16 touches for their running backs. We got 32 for Jarquez on Saturday. Now, we've had games this year where our running backs only have 16 to 20 touches, and we leave complaining. And I don't care what the defense presents. At a certain point, you got to say, I'm about to run it at you. I'm about to make sure this guy has his opportunity in this ball game to win it for us.
Randy,
it felt a little bit more like it.
Yeah, Jalen Milroe's a running back. I'll go back and look at the Tennessee stats. Jam Miller, 12 carries, 42 yards. Justice Haynes, 8 carries, 22 yards. Jalen Milroe, 14 carries, 11 yards. Now, that's sack yards included, okay? Yeah. So his numbers don't show as well, but he's by far their running back. I mean, I'm going back to the key games, Tennessee, Oklahoma, South Carolina, where they squeaked that out. Let's see what they did there, running the ball. Same stuff. I mean, Jam Miller, 12 carries, 42 yards. Justice Haynes, 8 carries, 26. It's the same deal. I mean, it's 18 to 20 combined carries for their running backs for, 80 yards, maybe 60 to 80 yards. In all of these key games, I mean, you go back and look at Vanderbilt. I don't think they didn't have very many plays in that game. They didn't have, I don't think they had but like 50-something snaps in the game. Yeah, their running game was terrible. They only had 21 running attempts in the whole game for 84 yards, and it was split between Milroe was majority of the carries, but Haynes had 6 carries for 23 yards, and Jam Miller had 5 carries for 45. It hadn't been there for them this year. The running game has not been there for Alabama this year.
Well, they haven't leaned on it enough, and that's been mine and your biggest complaint with Auburn. Create an identity. I'm not saying that I want us to go back to 1983 and run the football 80% of the time and throw it 20. No, but I do want it to stay pretty consistent, that if you feel like you got the best running back in the conference, you feed that guy. 25 times a game, you find a way to get him the football. And we haven't done it but a few games this year. In the games we have, boy, he's produced for us, hasn't he? When we gave Jarquez Hunter a chance to win the football game for us, he did. So there's an X factor for me, is how many touches the running backs get in both of these teams. And look, if we allow Jalen Milroe to beat us, or Ryan Williams makes 2 or 3 amazing plays down the field against us. So be it. I'll take my chances with that. The thing that worries me is if they gain some senses about them and start going more physical and using that big offensive line against our youth. I love our talent on the defensive side of the ball, but you just said it a few minutes ago. We're very young. The young guys we've got are starting to make plays. I don't know if you noticed, but
Oh
I
man,
love Malik Block. I love Malik blocking.
he made a couple really key plays in the game Saturday.
Boy, he does not look like a small
Oh no,
young guy out there.
no.
Gosh, he has put on. What do you think he's put on since you and I called him last year in the quarters? 35 pounds.
I had 40 to 45 in my mind.
That could be. He was what, 260?
Yeah,
265 against us.
Yeah, he's probably
he was
not
a man
quite,
amongst boys.
He's probably not quite 300, but he's 280.
He's close.
285, 290.
He's got huge legs. He's only going to get bigger, but man, he's playing great, and I love the way he carries himself on the field. Man, he's having a good time playing. We need more of him. He's already like a leader. In year one, I mean,
right.
I watched the way that the team moves around him, and Malik blocked him, buddy. Tip my hat to him. I didn't see that last year. I felt like he'd be a good one down the road, but I didn't think he'd make as big a splash as he did in the early going.
Boy, he's been a pleasant surprise for sure. Listen to these numbers. I just want to do a comparison. Peyton Thorne, 2,412 yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Jalen Milroe, 2,396 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Leading rusher for Auburn is obviously Jarquez Hunter, 1,145 yards and 8 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe's their leading rusher with 615 yards, 17 touchdowns. Can you get more identical than this? KLS has 42 catches, 865 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Ryan Williams has 42 catches, 804 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So really, 61 yards separates those two guys. And they had one call back, a big one call back against Oklahoma that probably would have him almost dead even with KLS in yards. I mean, KLS, man, I bragged on it yesterday, and we got comments coming in, so we'll get to those. Randy, he's one of the best receivers, I think, in Auburn history, and he's only been here for 11 football games. And the catches he makes, I sent you all those pictures. I don't know how he caught them. I like the big catch to give us the opportunity to take the lead back at 28-21, and then the catch in overtime. Those two defensive backs, man, I'm glad they didn't drop. I'm glad they didn't knock the ball away from it. I almost feel sorry for those two guys. They defended those passes as well as anybody could ever defend a pass. Mm-hmm. And KLS somehow caught it on them. I mean, they have to be going, did my arm become invisible? Because he pulled the ball through my arm like some kind of matrix. But he's one of the best I think Auburn's ever had, man. I mean, this guy, for him to be at 865 yards, man, he could easily be over 1,000 if they wanted to feed him in some of these lesser games that we've played. Yeah. But, man, he's had 42 catches, and 25 of them have been unbelievable, like in key moments. So he's amazing.
Well, look at that yard per reception. I remember Lawyer Tillman back in the day. I think the last couple of years he was at Auburn, he led the country. He didn't get as many catches as some others around the country, but the ones he got were big, big plays, right. 24, 25 yards per reception average. And KLS, big plays. When he touches the football, he's a pro, Brett. He's got a pro build. He's strong. He's sturdy. I don't think we're going to be the only one to say that. He looks the part, makes big plays, has performed wherever he's been, whether it be Penn State or now at Auburn. I haven't heard a negative thing about him. The way he carries himself around these young receivers, very impressive. So
massive pickup in the portal for Hugh Freeze.
It was
last year. Massive.
We've had quite a few, and back to your stats with the quarterbacks. I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I'm going to say it. Man, you know what a difference 600 to 800 yard running quarterback would be at Auburn consistently.
Oh man,
just somebody, just a guy that you got to keep your eyes on. I'm gonna keep you honest. If you bite down, I'm Nick Marshall. I'm going 50 on you. at Jordan-Hare Stadium as soon as you make a mistake. And I'm going to split those two deep safeties, and I'm taking it to the house. That type of athlete is big in it. You know, it's not as big in the NFL because you can't put these quarterbacks in a chance where they can get hurt like that.
Right,
But in the
right.
college game and the high school game that you and I see, when you've got he doesn't have to be the leading rusher. You know, you'd rather him not be the leading rusher.
Just a
You'd rather have
complimentary option. That's all you
You'd
need.
rather have a Trey Mason rushing for 1,800 yards, or even if that 1,800 turns to 1,300. But if you've got a quarterback that adds 700 to 800 on top of that, and when Alabama's been good, that's the reason they've been good, Brett, is Jalen Milroe has, exposed some defensive issues. When you get out of lanes and you let that guy get away, Auburn's strength, I hope that we're getting closer to having DeMarcus Riddick out there on the field more consistently, but sideline to sideline running down quarterbacks, that's where he could be massive on Saturday, Brett, is if we can keep him in the football game and he spies Jalen Milroe. And when Jalen feels things are breaking down and he goes and uses those legs, that we've got somebody to track him down, that could be a key X factor in the ball game on Saturday too.
Can't go up there and turn the ball over.
Oh, no,
we turned the ball over in a bad time Saturday. We gave them 3 points. And that, again, that's the thing that you're scared to death of Peyton Thorne. He's only thrown 8 interceptions this year. He's thrown 20 touchdown passes, but he's thrown some. His interceptions have come at the absolute worst time. It's never a good time for an interception, but the one against Oklahoma was terrible. Lost us the football game. It was a terrible decision. And then I thought that one he threw against Texas A&M may end up costing us the game, because we're backed up inside. He rolls the pocket. And, Randy, I don't know what he looked at. We didn't have hardly anybody over there, and they had 2 defenders, and he threw such a bad ball, it bounced off one of them and went to another defender, and he picked it off. So that's the thing that still keeps Auburn fans on edge. They have gotten better with the turnovers as the year's gone on, because we had, 10 turnovers against Cal and Arkansas in back-to-back weeks, which you're not going to beat anybody doing that. So if we turned the ball over 10 times and still had a chance to win both of those games. So if we keep on the road, especially in a game like this, don't turn the football over and control the line of scrimmage with your running game, and then take your shots in the passing game when they are there, not those real risky throws in tight windows that you have to make that could turn the game around. I think that's what they want to try to do. And I think Kyle just came up with a comment, and I want your take on this. I want to go down these comments, Randy, and let you get your take. Justin said, "War down, fellas. Mondays are so much better after a double eagle." No doubt. We second that. G said, "What's the story on the new kicker? Is he a new addition?" That's Ian Vacon, everybody. He's a walk-on, Randy.
Yeah, he's kicked before. He was at Birmingham Southern. So it's not like he hasn't been a college kicker already. And you can see he's got a lot of talent. He did yank, kind of came across that first field goal. It was, but he got it back together, man. And he made some key kicks down the stretch. I am going to take a chance, take this opportunity. You kind of teed me up. Our punting is terrible. I don't know what's happened there, Brett, but I don't know that I've seen a punter get the yips, but he's close to having the yips. We got very, very lucky. He could have cost us the game, close to it.
Yep.
But the one that he missed that hit the ground,
it was terrible.
And it was a darn drop kick, dude. We were lucky that it got out to midfield. If he's got the yips, Lord have mercy, I know they won't do it, because I'm sure he hadn't kicked a football since he left Elliott City. But I mean, put Malcolm back there. you can count on it going 45 to 50 yards down the field. I don't, at the least. He's that good a kicker. If the kid's got the yips, I mean, we've got to have some guys that can do a little bit better. If we lose the kicking game, it could cost us a winnable game over in Tuscaloosa. So we've got to be better. We got to have other options over there in the kicking game.
No doubt. Justin said all the 5 stars all the five-star offensive linemen at Alabama aren't living up to their NIL deals. He said, I hope we see Riddick out here spying Jalen Milroe a lot.
He will be.
Yeah, I think that's going to be his role. Man, that guy, good Lord, what a get. Switching him from Georgia, I'm telling you, man, he's everything everybody thought he was going to be, and he's just getting better. And, Coach Freeze said he would be out there even more if he understood the nickel package a little better.
Yeah.
But he's going to gain that. He's going to get better with that. But, man, he's in there a majority of the time now. And that guy, he's got so much speed, and he's so physical. I'm so glad we were able to land him. That was a big recruiting win for Auburn last year. Kyle said, I think Hughes gaining more and more confidence with that play call sheet, going back to who he is, also with the tempo. We have, Randy, seen Auburn kick the tempo in a little bit more in the last 2 weeks and get that up pace and get to the line of scrimmage. And Elko said they killed us in the second half with some of those tempo runs. He said the passes were bad when you let somebody get over the top of you, but he said he was more disappointed in how they couldn't get their feet under them when Auburn was getting to the line of scrimmage and running those tempo plays, running the football.
It makes you wonder why. It really makes you wonder why. I mean, that's who he is. That's the reason he's Auburn's coach. Is we've all seen at least glimpses of Hugh Freeze being dynamic, calling offensive plays and keeping defenses on their heels. I feel like a broken record with Gus Malzahn. It is so reminiscent of Gus Malzahn and begging for, why must you go away from what's working? Are you overthinking it? I mean, I go to 2015, 16, and then finally in 17 we got a little bit better. But 15 and 16, Brett, we're going, why? You didn't have to go away from what's working in 13 and 14. All you had to do is go find someone that can take over the reins here at quarterback if Jeremy Johnson's not going to be it. I just sense that I'm saying the same things right now. Whatever it takes to get Jarquez 25 to 30 touches, Brett, on Saturdays, my biggest X factor. We can't go away from it. Even if the first quarter they're stopping the run, can't go away from it.
Right.
And we have. But, yeah, I agree with you out there. I think Hugh Freeze getting back in his bag a little bit. I just hope he doesn't overthink it and go back to sheerly all RPO.
They coached a good game last year. They just screwed it away at the end. I mean, let's just be honest. There were, the punt, the muff punt, and then the whatever that was down there at the end. Good Lord. I mean, if you could ever erase something from history, that's one that we'd want to erase. Now, I know Alabama wants to erase kick six. They get tired of seeing that be the intro highlight on every college broadcast that people still play. But Patrick said under Gus, we never had to worry about the kicking game. Brent said the one good thing about Saturday is that every phase of the game at some point picked each other up after the breakdowns. Defense picked up the slack for the offense and special teams. Special teams bailed out the offense at the end of regulation and then the second overtime. And then offense bailed out the defense when they gave up the TD in overtime. It was a team win. But that's about as good of a summation as you can have. All three phases may have played poorly at times, but they also did really good things at times to help Auburn come out with a win. And I said this yesterday to y'all. Would I like to have won that game 42-10 and just sat there in the third and fourth quarter and kicked back? But it happened the perfect way. Because if we win 42-10, nobody's storming the field. Now, Braden and the field crew would have been happy with that because they wouldn't have had to pick all that trash up for 2.5 hours after the game and all the shrubs that they got to replant. But, you win a confident, and then maybe you got a false sense, oh, man, 42-10. 42-17, we killed the number 15 team. We're back. No, you got up a big lead, and then you blew it. And then you had to fight your rear end off to get back. And then you had to get to overtime, and you had to scrap and figure out a way to win. And then the recruits were able to soak in that moment. So it worked out perfectly, I thought, for this team to get and feel the magic of winning a big game at home, but they just didn't have it handed to them. They had to earn it against a good football team.
Very good points. One I tried to make yesterday is finally our defense could lean on the offense and vice versa. Because all season long, the defense has put us in some situations where we could have gone out there and taken control of the football game and outright won it, but we couldn't close games because the offense has been so anemic at times. And it was nice to see the defense not be at their best, but we still win a football game. And you're getting somewhere when both sides pick the other up. So a very good point to make there.
Kyle said, "Thank God Malcolm is fielding punts now." He said Keontae Scott's downfall should be studied. What happened to that guy, man? I mean, Randy, you said it multiple times last year. You thought he was our best football player, and I agreed. Man, that guy was like Mr. Consistency. And he killed us when he went out injured in the Iron Bowl last year because we had to run Coy Moore out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the curse that killed Keontae Scott, the two of them wearing 0, and everybody wanted to kill Keontae Scott after the game for muffing the punt. And it wasn't even him. It was Coy Moore. And, really, we haven't heard anything from him all year. And his playing time is non-existent. I don't know what's happened to him.
Well, we better be happy where we are in the secondary right now. I know we weren't great. We're throwing a lot of young guys back there.
Boy, they make
very quick,
too, man.
And they are, man. This kid from Thompson High School, Brett Pritchard. What
good
a kid!
Lord, man, that guy's good, dude.
He's as good as advertised.
He may be one of the best by the time he leaves Auburn. He may be one of the best we've ever had. He may be Carlos Rogers, dude.
He's a heady football player too, man. He's got a lot of confidence. We know he comes from, if not the best program in the state of Alabama, top 5 by. And he's coached by as good. And I do think when you're young, Brett, that makes a big difference. If you've been coached up and you've been in a great high school program, you can overcome it with extreme athleticism. But if you've been coached up and you've been in one of these better programs and you've done all the 7-on-7s and all the things that these kids get exposed to now, it makes it a lot easier to go out there. But I'm thrilled with the youngsters that we've got in the secondary. And look at the ones we've got coming in.
Man, this is one of the best secondary classes.
And if we close with Alford, it's going to be the best secondary grab we've ever had.
He's the best player in the state.
He's the best player in the state, but the others, sometimes you'll watch a safety and you'll say, he's a good player, but I don't really see the playmaking ability. Anquan Fagan's, Brett. That cat right there is a playmaker.
Did you watch him? Did you watch his highlights against the Enterprise?
Yes.
Friday. Dude.
He makes plays.
He is a stud. And then Eric Winters at Enterprise too, dude. That guy made plays too, man.
Eric Winters could play. He's an athlete that can play both sides of the ball, but Anquan Fagans is a straight up safety that I know he does some other things, but I think he's going to make tons of turnovers and he'll always be around the ball. And I don't think it'll take him long. Problem is he's got to beat or he's at least got to compete with the next teammate of him last year, man. Thompson's putting them in there, aren't they?
They just keep on keeping on, man. Keep on keeping on. All right, a couple more comments here, and then we'll shift to basketball. Patrick said he forgot Scott was on the team. Again, isn't that crazy how you can just go from being the guy to just, hey, I forgot. He also said that probably his problem is that Scott wants to be a cornerback, and he ain't it. And that's where they played him this year and earlier in the year. And, he was best when he was back there at safety, man. And now that he is trying to play that corner, he got burnt. I remember us talking after the Cal game. He just never turned around at all. He never could find the football, and he just got beat off the line of scrimmage. And so it didn't work out. I don't know, man. I hate it. I don't wish anything bad on him. I want all our kids to be successful. But obviously there's something not working out for him this year.
Well, Brett gets tired of hearing me on Friday night broadcast talk about this, but you either have ball skills or you don't in secondary. It's very hard to coach that up. And, we got a quarterback at Benjamin Russell, may have played 20 snaps on the defensive side of the ball this year, and he had 3 interceptions. And if he'd have played, if he'd have played full time over there, he'd have had 12 to 15 of them. He just got ball skills, man.
He knows how to attack the
And
ball, man.
he does not want to leave a football game where he gets a chance in the secondary and he doesn't pick 1 or 2 of them off. And Keontae Scott just didn't feel that way to me. You know, the ball's in the air. He never really seemed to be able to turn and find it and get the timing right. And some can do it and some can't, but if you can't do it, it's very hard to coach it up. And I think we're getting closer, though. Jay Crawford, he didn't have the best game Saturday, but it's to be expected against a really good team.
One of their best receivers all night. And he's going to get put on an island like that. He's probably going to draw the assignment of Ryan Williams Saturday, man. So
no, it is what it is. And I think he'll embrace it. We got to help him by putting some pressure on the quarterback. We didn't do a very good job of that on Saturday.
Couldn't get any. I mean, to me, that was the difference. And Jason brought that up. He said, you know, until we get better on the defensive front getting pressure, he wasn't dissing our defensive line, especially running the football, thought we did well. But if you can only get pressure by having to blitz, you are going to get shots on offense. And again, Marcel Reed, he didn't look like a freshman out there, dude. And if Texas A&M ever picked that blitz up, dude, he found the open guy. And usually it was in the middle of the field. We kind of had the hash to the sideline defended well, but there was wide open guys in the middle of the field. And so that's something you got to watch. Okay. All right. We're going to shift over and talk about how about Auburn is in the Maui Invitational, everybody. We're so happy we talked 40 minutes about football. We're in the Maui Invitational. We're in the best college basketball tournament, that was ever invented. And this is our second trip in the last 5 years. And we open up with a number 5 team, Iowa State. We're number 4. They're number 5. Auburn's favored by 4.5 points in this game, but that game is at 8:00 on ESPNU. And the game after hours is Dayton, North Carolina. So we'll play one of those 2 teams depending on what we do and depending on what they do, how we meet up. But if we were to win and North Carolina were to win, we'll play North Carolina tomorrow. And so, but this Iowa State team, they've been great for a while. Got a great program.
They have been.
And, I'm looking forward to see it. I'm just excited to see this team play in the Maui Invitation.
Well, a couple of things to watch. I think our strength's in the post. And you can't start basketball games only taking those open shots on the perimeter and hoping and praying that you're hot that night. I hope we don't do that. Look, it'd be great to show up like we did in that Final Four run and just shoot lights out. But that's not going to happen, I don't feel like, all this year. I think we'll have our moments where we will. But, Brett, we've got to feed that post. Janai Broom's got to get his touches. And it's got to be early in the basketball game. And we've had even this, the last home game. We didn't decide to go down in Janai until the game was, I think we were down by a point, 34-33 to North Alabama. They were shooting the ball great from the perimeter. Janai comes back off the bench with about 10 minutes to go in the first half, and he had 15 points in 3 minutes, Brett, when we finally decided to go down to him. And that, to me, is the X factor. That's our identity. I think we've got some guys that can get us to that major number you want. That 10 made threes has always been the number Brett's talked about while Bruce Pearl is there. But I hope we don't do it to begin the game, Brett. I think when you come out and you do it a little bit too much early, you don't get those post guys and our best player involved early. And that's the only thing that I would hope that we've gotten corrected. And you saw Janai on the court against North Alabama just saying, please, just set the offense up. Let me get to my right shoulder and my left hand up, and we'll start, knocking some buckets down, and then we'll find you open. Then we'll get you open on the perimeter. So that's one thing I'll be watching tonight. Bruce Pearl knows it way better than you and I do. He'll be the best marketing Auburn basketball. Nobody will ever have better. the camera's on Bruce Pearl, man, he can turn it on. I'm thrilled he's with us. It's a wonderful time to be a basketball fan in the state of Alabama, with Auburn and Alabama on the opposite side, making somebody over there that we hate, and they're a good opponent to hate right now.
Yeah, they're really good, and we're really good. And
Yep.
number 4 in the country, about to play in the Maui Invitational for the second time in 5 or 6 years. I don't know exactly when it was. I think it was 18 that we played in the Maui Invitational. So just outstanding, outstanding run for our basketball program, and not going to be stopping anytime soon. And going to play a really, really tough opponent tonight in Iowa State. And look, I'd love to win 2 games and possibly play UConn in the Maui Invitational Championship. How great a run is that? If you're able to play Iowa State, North Carolina, UConn, and then come back home and then get on a plane and fly to North Carolina to play Duke. You talk about a Final Four run right here, an NCAA tournament run. It doesn't get much tougher than that. So so exciting. You and I'll be back on tomorrow to talk about that here on the Auburn Blitz podcast. You and I will be on Auburn Blitz at lunch today. We're swapping with Andy and Jim because I got to do the On the Road show tomorrow in Oxford, Alabama, as they get ready for the Parker Thundering Herd. That's going to be a great
What a game.
6A matchup there between those 2 teams. So going to get to go up and talk to Oxford, get to see our good friend Marte Wyckoff. I'm looking forward to that when I go over there tomorrow. So we'll be on the Auburn Blitz today. We do want to remind everybody, Randy, that coming up in a couple of weeks that we will be over in Auburn at a remote, and looking forward to it. And we're glad that Bunkers in Auburn is part of our team now and part of our deal. And I'll let you talk about Bunkers.
Well, if you haven't been on West Glen, it's a wonderful venue. When you walk through the doors, I was blown away. But the simulators that are in there, the bar area, very, very nice, much larger than I expected to be on that street. You got the parking underneath. I think, was it 50 parking spots underneath,
50,
Brett?
50
So
parking
if
space.
you're struggling finding somewhere to park downtown, Bunkers, you got easy access, underneath the parking deck there to park. And we can't say enough good things. We're looking forward to partnering with them over the next year. And we'll be over there with the HSA side to do a little walk around coming up when we head into basketball season, Brett. But great sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor our show, find us. Send Brett or I a message. And that's how we got in touch here with Bunkers. Was a remote that we had in Auburn a couple of weeks ago, Brett, that really went over well. And we've got some great sponsors in that area, and Brett and I are going to continue to work really hard in that Auburn Opelika market to grow eyes to the programming and to the people that sponsor us over there.
Absolutely. So go check out Bunkers. We'll be there for our On the Road show, and we'll be there live remote on the 13th, Friday the 13th. Don't let that scare you away. It's going to make it a lucky Friday the 13th for you. We also want to remind everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hey, that's growing. A few every time I check it, it's going up, and we appreciate it out there. If you enjoy our content, we try to pride ourselves on doing our research and getting you the best information about Auburn and everything that we do. So subscribe, share that with everybody, tell everybody about it, and we'd love to see that number continue to grow, Randy. And then I'll let you end it out before we get out.
Yeah, wide open here in Dable. You can see behind me, Bo, Justin, Henry, printing a lot. I keep saying elections matter, and if you're a small business owner and you're having a big end of the year, let me know, because that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, it's like the faucet came on a couple of weeks ago when the election went down, and we've really turned it on down here with Lee Apparel, screen printing, embroidery, corporate apparel, promotional products. If you got advertising budgets you'd like to take advantage of that with to close the year out, please give us a call down here with Lee Apparel and Sign Source. We got a new lift truck coming in maybe this week that'll get us up to 90 feet lift, and we are wide open with our sign side. So from design all the way to installation, we can help you with that. 256-825-0197. I got a meeting coming up here at 10, Brett, trying to finalize a new location that we'll have in Auburn. So it'll not only be for Lee Apparel and Sign Source, but R&B. We'll have a venue over there where we can do some interviews and do some other things. So make sure to find us there with Lee Marketing Group, and 256-825-0197 is the way you can get in touch with us.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody for all your comments. We really appreciate that. That adds to what we do. We couldn't do it without all of you. I wouldn't want to do it without all of you that give us shout outs and give us your take on everything. We love hearing what you think as well. So, all right, we'll be on at noon for the Auburn Blitz, everybody. Hope to see you there. Everybody have a great day.